Have you ever had a goal that felt so big that you didn't even know where to start? Maybe you've been thinking about it for months or even years. You know you want it. You just can't seem to make yourself begin. If that's you, grab your coffee and a notebook because today we're going to make your goal smaller, much smaller. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to help you find one tiny action you can take and give you a little win before we finish our coffee. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Break Coaching. Today, we are going to be talking about taking our big picture goals that maybe seem kind of overwhelming, and we're going to break them down into small action, small steps that we can take to create momentum to keep us moving forward. So, when we talk about how we define our goals, a lot of times we use terms of outcomes. I want to start a business. I want to change careers, write a book, get in shape. Those aren't really actions, they're destinations. And they're good to have. You got to have destinations. But when we stare at the destination, we become overwhelmed with everything in between starting where we are and getting where we want to be. It's kind of like a road trip. If you want to drive across the country and you look at your destination, it's like that's far away. It's going to take 24 hours to drive there. Oh my gosh. It's a long drive. It just seems terrible. But you break it down. It's like, okay, well, we're going to start the road trip. You got to have that destination because you got to know where you're ending your road trip. So you got to have that goal. But along the way, you don't just drive straight through and just focus on how hard it is to drive for 24 hours straight from here to there. You're like, well, okay, we know we got to start from here at our house. Often, at least when my family goes on road trips, we tend to just go buy a tank of gas or however long it takes for everybody to need to get up and stretch. So we're talking about a couple hours. So you just say, okay, we're going to drive for 3 hours. Then we'll all get out, take a potty break, stretch our legs, get gas, get snacks. And then also at that time, you can kind of plan at this 3 hour mark, what's a cool city that we can stop in. Maybe you find, a cool souvenir shop and you can kind of get little trinkets along the way to, celebrate your trek across the country. And then you fill up with gas and you get in the car and you drive for another stretch of, probably 3 hours or so. And you just kind of keep doing this. So your long road trip of total of 24 hours of drive time is broken down into these little chunks of driving where you can kind of do fun things along the way. And then eventually you're like, hey, we crossed through this state already and we're already through the next state. And then before you know it, you're at your destination. So obviously you do need to have that destination. You need to have a goal for where you're driving. Just like you need to have a goal for whatever your dream is, whether it's the end goal is to have a business, to get in shape, to have a book published, whatever it is, you need that goal at the end. But you also need a roadmap to get there. And that roadmap will have your smaller steps that you take along the way. So instead of saying, I want to do this big goal, ask yourself, what's something I could do in 10 minutes that would move me 1 inch closer? Not enough to finish, but enough to begin, or enough to take that next step. So our coaching exercise, the first one for today, is going to be to name the big thing. So write down what that goal is. The thing I want to accomplish is blank. Write down the big goal, that destination. Now, don't worry if it feels huge, if it feels like a big thing, because that's what we're looking for. That is your end goal. That is your destination. It should be big. You should have a big dream, a big goal. And that's fine. That's what we're doing here. We're going to have that overall picture, that destination, because we do need that on our roadmap. So write that down. The thing I want to accomplish is, and then the next step is we're going to make it smaller. So ask yourself, what is one part of this goal? And then we're going to make it smaller and smaller and smaller. So if your overall goal is to get in shape, first of all, you're going to have to kind of define what does that mean. Are you looking to gain muscle mass? Are you looking to lose fat? Are you looking to become more flexible, have better cardio, stamina? So you kind of have to think about what it means to get in shape. Just overall health, that's a little amorphous. But then you're going to break it down to, okay, here's my ideal health goal. So I want to make it smaller. So the first step will be, to lose 20 pounds. Okay, and then you're going to make that smaller. Well, maybe to get to 20 pounds, we're going to have to lose 10 pounds. And to get there, we're going to have to lose 5, and we're going to have to start by losing 1 pound. That's where it will start. So you're going to kind of take your big goal and narrow it down, break it all the way down to a single step. So if you want to change careers, it's a good goal to have. It's big. So to break it down to a small step, maybe you're going to research other careers. So things that you're interested in, what you're qualified for. Do you want to stay in the same field or change to something altogether? So break it down from kind of the big change careers to which career. So pick a career to research. And then maybe you break it down farther and you say, find one person who does that job. And then spend 10 minutes researching that person's career path. Where did they start? How did they progress to where they are? I would probably suggest, if you were going to do this, that you look within your current employer. So at this step, you're going to try to take your big goal and break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. And once you get to that, you can do that one step in 10 minutes. In this coffee break, you can figure out, or maybe your next coffee break. This coffee break, you can figure out what is that one step that you can take, that one small thing that you can do in 10 minutes. And then your next coffee break, you can do that one thing. Or at least have your plan for what you're going to do. Because if you're going to lose weight, you could probably in your 10-minute break, on your next one, you could try going for a walk. That would be your first step toward losing that first pound. All right, so then exercise number 3, you're going to find your tiny win. So you're going to ask yourself, what is the smallest useful thing I could do today? So the emphasis here is useful. So it's not busy work. It's not something that makes you feel productive without actually moving you forward. And we've talked about this in a couple other episodes, researching, thinking, praying about it. These are all things that you do need to do some of these things to some extent. But a lot of times we get in this trap of thinking that, well, if I'm just researching something or if I'm praying about it, that means I'm being productive. But you're not actually moving forward. So you need this one tiny action that will create a little bit of progress. And then you'll have a little bit of progress, a little bit of success to show that you can do it. So we need this tiny win. So write down, today I will blank. Make it specific. What are you going to do today? Not work on my book, but write the opening paragraph. Not start my business, but spend 10 minutes researching a business name. Not get healthier, but take a 15-minute walk after lunch or after dinner. Okay, so here's the important part through all of this. The main thing is that I want you to actually do this action, not just write it down. Because completing that one small thing is going to give your brain evidence. I said I would do it, and I did. So now your brain starts to become trained that you are somebody that does what they say they do, that does complete goals. You had a goal, you completed it. It was a small goal, but that doesn't matter. You said you would do it, and you did. That's a win. And a win means endorphins. It means the brain wants more, so you're going to want to keep doing this. It's like a runner's high. And that win will also create confidence. And then suddenly you're not standing at the bottom of this mountain anymore. Now you're moving, you're climbing, you're making progress. So today's coffee break challenge, I'm going to give you 24 hours. I want you to complete your tiny win within the next 24 hours. So in this 10 minutes, you should be able to define some small step that you're going to take. And then within the next 24 hours, I want you to take that step. So we're not waiting for the perfect time. We're not taking big, huge steps. We're not going to try to complete a bigger goal. We're doing this one tiny step. And don't turn this into a 3-hour project. It's a 10-minute thing. Do the tiny thing you wrote down. So it's small, it's specific, and it's doable. And I want you to do it within the next 24 hours. Okay, guys, to wrap up, you don't have to accomplish the whole goal today. You don't even have to know exactly how you're going to get to that end destination. You just need the next small step, the small win, because that's the thing that gets you moving. It's not necessarily the confidence that gets you moving, it's that action. It's the evidence that you did something. Evidence that you can take action. Evidence that you can keep a promise to yourself. Evidence that this thing you've been dreaming about really is possible because you just did the first step on the road to that dream. So go out there and get your tiny win today. All right, guys, if this coffee break coaching session helped you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who also has a goal that they're struggling with. If you want a printable version of today's exercise, I have a worksheet to go along with it. You can get it by joining my free weekly newsletter. You can go to sarahtyke.com/newsletter, and you can come tell us about your tiny win in the Facebook group. I would love to celebrate it with you. The links for both the Facebook group and the newsletter are in the show notes and at sarahtyke.com. Until next time, what's one small step you'll take before we have coffee again? Bye, guys.